Welcome to the Miles Pod Morning Money Show. Again, I have my co-host, Monty Shockley, CEO and founder of SIC Omaha, Shockley Intellectual Capital, the Baron of Omaha. How goes it, sir?
It goes springtime pretty soon.
Excellent. Looking forward to springtime. It feels like winter, though, in Chicago.
Yeah, it feels like winter here, too. I'm ready for it to go. It's supposed to be 65 this weekend, though, so.
Well, speaking of spring and better weather, you talked to me earlier this week, a secret stock tip about cruise lines, and Carnival Cruise has actually been raging. However, I'm sure you saw the reports about that ship that made the bridge collapse in Maryland. So, Yahoo Finance, this article, Carnival Cruise stock dips, warns of up to $10 million hit from bridge collapse. Carnival Cruise Line shares are trading lower on Wednesday morning as the company announces it expects to lose $10 million in losses from the Baltimore Bridge collapse. So that was a Carnival cruise ship. Although a minor setback for its second quarter, the company raised its annual profit forecast for 2024, citing a renewed boost in travel demand. Wow.
Yes. Like I said, spring is headed our way, fast and furious, and there's nothing people want to do more than get the heck back to some relaxation and some rest and some fun on these cruise ships.
So what do you think was the reason behind the accident? A lot of people are saying it was a cyber attack. A lot of people are saying it was done by the government to create a distraction. What do you think it was that caused it? Or do you think it was an honest failure from the members on board the ship?
So we're talking about the accident in Maryland that just happened, correct?
Correct.
So essentially what happened was there was a malfunction on that particular cargo ship, and it happened literally within minutes of going towards that bridge, and they couldn't slow the ship down. So it's a complete freak accident. And
You don't think the airlines found a way to hack into their system to get people to not want to jump on cruise ships? Because I think that's what's spurred the demand in going on cruises, is people are less and less confident with airline travel. That's just a suspicion. I could be totally wrong.
I think the airlines work in tandem with the cruise lines. They love cross-selling each other, so they make just as much money off of one from the other, and vice versa. So I probably dispel that theory that one was causing some kind of disruption in their business model. It's just they just make too much money from each other.
And the cyber attack claims, you think that's too grandiose of a claim, too conspiracy theorist of a claim?
When things aren't, going as well, cyber criminals take advantage of weakness, and when you're not looking and you're in the middle of chaos, it's the perfect time to strike. So it doesn't surprise me that they had a cyber attack at the same time.
Gotcha. So do you think, as a stock, though, Carnival Cruise Line took a hit, do you think that their forecast is just, or you think this is something that people should invest in?
I definitely think the cruise lines have some upside. I mean, we're past COVID. People are pretty tired after this winter. We're looking for some relief. There's a lot of good deals out there because the industry's been in shambles for years because of all this. So I think you're going to have a return to healthy cash flows that you saw pre-pandemic. I think it's a great time to buy while nobody's paying attention.
Yeah, and it's up, despite the dip this morning, it's actually up 2.47% right now at $17.45. market cap is at 22.78 billion. So there's definitely looks like some room to grow. What do you think?
So the best thing about the carnival slash resort style cruises, it takes a long time to build those ships. So the inventory that's currently in place is all licensed. It's all inspected. They're probably doing some serious maintenance on those vessels to make sure they stay in operating condition. So yeah, I think they're in a good spot to have cash flow return back to normal.
Well, Chipotle here is announcing a 50-for-1 stock split. It's a massive stock split that's coming. It's dividing the shares into 50 pieces. Do you think this is just a psychological move? What is the point of Chipotle doing this?
So I would say we have valuations so high on Chipotle that if we do have a correction in the marketplace, what the board of directors probably wants to do is make sure if we come down, it's not as swift. So if we allow other investors to come in, they're going to buy, hold. Right now we have more opportunity for other people to get involved. And they want to see that small investment that just got chopped up into 50 pieces. They want to see it go back up to where it was before it got split. So I think it's a good move from a risk management perspective, since it's grown so high, to limit the downside by allowing other people to invest in the company long term.
According to the BBC, let's see. No, not the BBC. Oh, yeah. So there was a February press release that Meta's board of directors declared a cash dividend of 50 cents per share of Class A and Class B common stock. Anyone who is a stockholder as of close of business on February 22nd, 2024, should expect the first dividend payment on March 26, 2024. Thereafter, dividends will be distributed quarterly so long as market conditions and the board of directors permit. There's the caveat there. But it says Zuckerberg himself, who owns approximately 350 million Meta shares, stands to make $700 million thanks to this dividend. What do you think of Facebook now that they're giving out dividends?
Well, when you're issuing dividends, you're doing two things simultaneously. One, you're telling the marketplace the cash that we have, we don't have any good projects to invest it in to create more shareholder value. So we're going to give you the cash since you're the owner. It can be interpreted that way, right? The second thing you're doing is you're saying we've reached a level of maturity. Now we want to forecast the value of the company based on dividend payments over time. So like if you rent an apartment building and someone pays $1,000 of rent each month, what's the long-term value of the apartment? $1,000 times 30 or $12,000 times 30 years will give you the approximate value of the property. So I think it's an indication, going back to my number two, that the company has matured.
So this makes them a pretty safe bet right now. Like Coca-Cola has dividends. I can't think of any other notable companies right off the top of my head that have dividends, but is 50 cents decent for every I think, is it every dollar that you own or every stock that you own? Yeah, per share. Is 50 cents per share fair?
Well, you got to think of it like this: if it's an investment that's generating income, how long will it generate that income? And once it stops generating that income, does that mean it's less valuable? I think it's more likely the case that Facebook has peaked in terms of finding projects to invest in to make the company more valuable. And it doesn't want to disturb the marketplace from holding Facebook shares. So it's giving you an incentive to buy right now.
So you don't see this as another 10x opportunity. This is a 2% gain every year for the next 5 years type of opportunity. This is a long ball, long investment strategy here.
Yeah, I've always believed that Facebook was a legacy stock, and it always should be concerned about the legacy of the brand. It did a terrible job when they tried to pivot to virtual space, basically the virtual universe.
Yeah,
theory.
metaverse. Yeah.
So in order to avoid, again, if there's a shift in risk sentiment in the tech sector, what is it doing? It's rewarding people who are investing in companies that usually don't give dividends. But at the same time, they are opening themselves up for the argument that they don't have any projects or have any acquisitions that are worth, the capital. So they decide to give some of it back to investors.
Yeah, you called it though a long time ago when Facebook was at what, $5 a share or something like that.
Well, a long time ago, it was at 20. It was at 26 a share, and I knew it was a legacy stock then, and that was 2012.
Well, that was what Mark Cuban was calling for people to short it. And it was working. I think you were the only voice in the wilderness saying that Mark Cuban was wrong and that it should definitely be something that you should invest in. And now we're looking at a stock that's at $491 a share. So imagine, folks, if you had gotten in at $26 when Monty said to get in, you'd be looking at a pretty good payout 10 years later.
Yeah, at IPO, it was in 2008. It was the only good IPO on the street. It was $101 billion. That's what the company ended up, that's what it was worth. Now, I believe it's close to $1 trillion, right? What's the market cap on Facebook?
Market cap, yeah, 1.25 trillion.
So it went from 100 billion to 1.5 trillion. So yeah, it 10x, like 10 and a half.
Yeah, and the 52-week high is 523.57. So still has upside here to go back up to 523.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
I have to say Zuckerberg is pretty smart. He knows when to lay off people to keep his stock price up. He knows when to become a public persona and speak out directly against the Apple Vision Pro and literally make a public video dissecting why the Quest Oculus is better, more affordable, and now the company is doing this stock split. Do you think this is his sole vision, or do you think he has the best advisory team in the world? His CFO is Susan Lee.
Well, Mark is about my age, so he doesn't have the perspective on what a seasoned board looks like, but his team does. So he did a very good job at recruiting people for understanding how generations of investors tend to gravitate towards board decisions. So he's very smart when it comes to recruiting talent for his best interest. And most of his wealth is tied up in the company. So in order for his legacy to carry on, he has to protect that. So I think he's doing a very good job at maturing into a more seasoned CEO.
Yeah, it is rumored that he is one of those billionaires who has done take no salary, I take all the stock I can get, I take out a loan against that stock, and then I get a insurance policy to cover the loan balance in the event of my passing. Can you explain how that works for the audience and why someone like him would take a no salary position within his company to do that?
Absolutely. So since he's an owner of Facebook, um, I don't know what the percent is, but let's just say it's 20% on 1.5 trillion. That's like what, 300 billion, close to that.
Mm-hmm.
In the marketplace, you can borrow against that $300 billion and at about 50%, right? So I can borrow $150 billion to do whatever. So that means if anything ever happens to that 150 billion, you got another 150 billion to pay the bill. So you're not going to spend 150 billion in a single day. So it's a pretty safe bet, right? But since I'm borrowing against my assets, that's a loan. And loans aren't income. So there's no taxes. So he can support his lifestyle without paying any taxes, without
That's right. He doesn't have to pay income taxes. The
no income
loan
tax.
is not a taxable event.
That's right. No, he doesn't need a salary. Everything he has, he can just take from his securities loan account.
And it's an
And then
interest only loan, right? It's not a
yeah,
whole
you
it's
pay.
it's not a principal loan where, or I forgot the terminology for it, where you're set to make these monthly payments. There's a term for it. Um
Right, there's a minimum. There's a minimum amount he can borrow, right? And so what you can do is, just so long as you're making that minimum payment every month, you can use the interest from other investments to pay it off. Or you can just live stress-free, buy an insurance policy for $150 billion that will effectively pay whatever you borrow. Like maybe you only borrow 10 million in cash. So you get a $10 million insurance policy. When you die, the policy pays it off, so your wife and your family don't have to worry about the bill.
right. And I think if the valuation of your stock goes up, then that's like a hedge against what you owe, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
The stock goes up, you simply sell the difference, and then you pay the interest with that money. So you're basically not paying anything.
Yeah, you're not making any payments. That's insane. Hold on one sec. I want you to check this out. You are launching an event in April where you are opening your doors to all kinds of investors, people that invest in real estate. You're trying to build entertainment landmarks in the Omaha area. And I have to show you this clip I saw of this restaurant idea. You got to take a look at this. This is going to rock your world. Hold on. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so cool. Well, maybe you think it's cool. I don't know. Let's see. All right. Check this out. Really? It's going to buffer now? Come on.
That's why you buy Facebook instead of Google.
Here, let's do this.
I didn't say that, by the way. I'm not.
Well, this is Twitter. This is X.
Twitter. I got you.
Let's refresh. All right. Oh, here we go.
Oh yeah, I've seen this during the water.
You see this?
Yeah. The floating atmosphere. That's very cool.
How insane is this?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, the only risk to this is one of those little kids throws a Pop-Tart in the water and kills all those fish.
You said a Pop-Tart?
One of those little kids throw a Pop-Tart or a candy bar or some milk in that water and kills all the fish. But
wait, so the risk is, I know one of the kids throwing a Pop-Tart in there, but I think it's so
let's go fishing.
It's so subtle, but it's like it's still an experience. Like this is what
it's
like
cool.
You would think people would have thought to do something like this, like to have an immersive experience. I mean, what is the future of restaurants look like? What is the future of multi-use properties, specifically in the Omaha area? Like, what opportunities are you going to be offering people?
So in terms of fine dining, right? What people are looking for is an experience matched with affordability. But they're also looking for something attached to it. So basically, you're dealing with all adult experiences that you can benefit from by having access to family experiences, right? And as a part of that subscription plan, you get access to venues just like this, and they're really unique. And one of the ideas is to, not as clever as that. I would have never guessed having water in there, but imagine a fine dining restaurant on an indoor beach.
That would be amazing.
Same kind of premise. Another thing to think about is the type of cuisine. Can you mix international dishes with an American appetite? Attempts to do that, something that I'm working on. Having the idea where you can incubate, so bringing brand new chefs, executive chefs into the cooking experience live and have them test their ideas again for family, for adult venues, even for elderly people.
Is it safe to say you are the Trump, minus the politics, you're the Trump of Omaha? Because didn't you negotiate for a stadium for like down to $4 million to purchase a whole stadium for $4 million? Is that true?
Pre-pandemic, I did have a negotiation in place for a mid-size arena here in town. It was $5 million down, and then $30 million purchase price. But I would refer to those aspirations. I like to be compared to Don Peoples versus Trump in terms of development. So
yes, Don Peoples, the billionaire the black billionaire real estate mogul. The reason why I say Trump is because Trump negotiated his bond down, like he reduced it by like 40 or 60%. So now he's not, and he gets to hold on to his property. So that's why I said Trump, because you're a master negotiator, and I think people want to utilize that specialty of yours when it comes to negotiating these large projects. You are well versed in the RFP world, or whatever that is, proposal world, and in how to negotiate with governments and big companies alike.
I think Donald Trump is a very serious and a very skilled intellectual negotiator, probably top of his class. So I appreciate the compliment, let me tell you. Very rarely do I get compliments. Usually it's verbal abuse. So I appreciate
You mean verbal abuse on how much money you've made people?
it. Yeah, it comes off that way, doesn't it? Not to say that an indoor water park in Bellevue right now that they spent $50 million on wasn't my idea, even though I'm just saying it's the same developer I talked about, back in 2019. It was supposed to be a part of the same deal to renovate the stadium I was going to buy.
So they basically kind of
Yeah, they said, well, we know this really smart guy. He was going to put one here. The pandemic hit. It's an idea to raise your revenue. Why don't you put an indoor water park in Bellevue, which is south of Omaha? And that's exactly what they're doing on behalf of a new mayor. So great job. I'm impressed with your tactic to get into office.
Well, if anybody is in commercial real estate or has any big projects coming up, Monty is definitely somebody you want to call then, because he could save you tens of millions of dollars in his negotiation skills. Speaking of tens of millions of dollars, the SEC scored a major win in its lawsuit against Coinbase today, as the judge ruled that its claim that the cryptocurrency exchange engaged in unregistered sales of securities could be heard by a jury at trial. Coinbase shares fell 2.5% on the news of this ruling in Manhattan federal court, rejecting its bid to dismiss the SEC's complaint. So it did not get dismissed, and this is another big smack in the face to crypto by the SEC. Your thoughts, sir?
So before I chime in on that particular situation, I also do feasibility studies that will tell you, is your idea feasible? Very expensive, very exhaustive, very time-consuming things. Also do those for small business owners and commercial developers too. Now, back to the matter at hand. That right there is a perfect example of the government yet again creating a coin purse out of somebody with some big pockets. Yeah. We let you compete, but now you got to pay. That's exactly what's going on.
If this continues and all the other tokens and cryptos in Coinbase were considered securities, that I think the result is going to be folks dumping anything that's not Bitcoin or Ethereum that hasn't been tested already by these lawsuits. This is again why it's so difficult for crypto to run free in this country, is because the SEC keeps meddling with it for some reason.
I think they feel like they have an obligation to protect investors from the implications and the risks that crypto has.
No, registered, or what are those? Is that what it's called? The investors that are supposedly like safe investors, like they have $500,000 in liquid assets. What are those investors called again? There's a specific type of investor.
Accredited investor.
That's who they're protecting. That's who they're trying to get vengeance on. Are the accredited investors who got into these coins, and then when everything dumped, they lost all their money and they started complaining. All of the what was the crypto exchange with SBF?
What STX or Binance?
FTX. FTX. These are for all the FTX investors who are still scolding mad that they lost their bags and just declared that everything was a scam. And it's like, you knew the risk, just like any other investment, you know the risk. And then as soon as you guys lose money, that's all of a sudden when you want government intervention. But for everybody else, all the small guys that are crying for government intervention on things, you say, oh, no, no, no. We don't want big government involved in our free markets, except when you guys lose money. Then all of a sudden you want regulation. Then all of a sudden you want the SEC to step in. But when the little guys just want a little nugget to pay off college or to put down a down payment on a house, that's when you want government regulation. So nobody else can make anything. Nobody else can get a crumb. It's preposterous.
Every investment. This is actually the problem I had with Mark Cuban when he was making his when he was being a crybaby about his Facebook shares he had that supposedly dropped in value, and he was saying this was a scam and he wanted his money back. Like, every investment, it says right on the bottom of the prospectus, past performance is not a guarantee of the future. You may lose some, if not all, your investment. That's what an investment is. You speculate on the growth of something. Now, what part of that is not understood? So if you invest, guess what? The risk is you could lose everything unless you have a very skilled risk manager who does whatever he can to eliminate that somehow. And that's what's missing from all of these conversations. All of them. Nobody is playing risk management on anything. They're either all in and then they cry because they didn't do their due diligence, which Warren Buffett says all the time. That's the only reason for diversification, because you're ignorant. And then these extreme situations where, you can't sue somebody for a decentralized exchange, right? And now the SEC is trying to change that. Why? Because you got a bunch. It's just rampant, wild, wild west, money in, money out. And I'll tell you this too. Gary Gensler, before he was the SEC chairman, was a professor. I think it was either MIT or Stanford.
Yeah, MIT.
And he said during his class, this is the business model, right, for crypto. Launch a coin. People give you money for the coin. Game over. That's what it is. Pure admiration.
Yeah, it was a new way for people to raise capital and for you to have a piece of ownership and equity in the company without owning stock. It was a whole nother new asset class that you could create to get interest in your company or project. And yeah, I remember watching some of his classes at MIT about crypto.
That's right. So the risk is known. So for you to come back and say you Sammy Boy did something against the rules or whatever, and the thing is, he's already paid it back. Like, it's another similar case to Trump. He paid the loan off. It's over with. There was no risk. He paid it off. Sam got back all the money people say he stole already. What was his prison sentence?
I don't even know. I don't even know where his trial's at right now. I'm sure that they're trying to find a way to get him out.
It's some technical BS to go over the rules. But you take the risk. When you invest in a private investment, you're risking the reputation of the manager and his risk management strategy.
Okay, so his sentencing, according to Fox Business, former crypto king Sam Bankman-Fried set for sentencing this week. The prosecutors are asking for FTX founder to spend up to 50 years in prison, which in prison years, every day is 2. So that's 25 years. If he goes into his sentencing high on some kind of drugs, then he can actually get a reduced sentence by going into a drug rehab program, and then with good behavior, maybe get it down to like 10 or 14 years. That's if he got smacked with the whole 40, 50-year prison sentence.
That's just that's absurd.
Yeah,
If
so
you're
sentencing is this week. We'll find out what he gets. And of course,
you're
nobody's talking about this.
if you're an accredited investor, that means you should have done your due diligence to know, am I going all in safely? What does
Exactly.
all in mean? You know what it means. You know what it means. And you lost. And now your attorneys that you hired are trying to get your money back.
Yeah, if you're an accredited investor, it means that you've done your homework. You are a qualified investor. You know the risk. So therefore, you can't cry about it and ask for your money back when you get, when you have the rug pulled underneath you. You should have done your research. And it's not fair. Nobody else who got rug pulled is going to get their money back because they don't have the finances to hire these high profile lawyers. So it's not fair overall. That's why to anybody that's trying to get into crypto, as we advised before, the safest way to do that is either to earn it as some kind of reward for purchases, or to allocate a few extra bucks out of your paycheck to buy on Venmo or whatever the platform is, or to buy as much as you can and reevaluate your positions every 3 to 6 months. It should always be a long-term game for you, and you should do your own research. You should research how many who the biggest shareholders are, like on the Etherscan. See it should be spread out evenly. So there shouldn't be a single holder that has more than 10%. It should be like 3 to 5% should be the biggest holder of the whole amount. They should have a strong social media following. They should have a strong website that shows they have a roadmap and that it has utility. But really the safest bets right now are Bitcoin and Ethereum. So, and you should be going into it thinking, I'm going to hold this long term. I'm going to reevaluate every 3 to 6 months and then think about pulling the trigger on selling some of this stuff, 2 to 3 years down the road. If there's a major bump, I'll sell, I'll sell maybe like 90% of my bag, but I'm really never going to sell. And I'm sure that there's going to be an opportunity later on to leverage it and get some cash. So that's why you want to hold on to this stuff. If you're comfortable with that level of risk.
I would say think of investing in crypto like your bad habits. So whatever you're going to spend on a pack of cigarettes, going to the bar, spending money at a gun range, buying chocolate brownies at Starbucks, any bad habit, whatever you would spend for that, whatever your budget is, that should be your budget for buying crypto, because it can go left. And once you invest in a bad habit, guess what? You never get your money back. It's gone. You eat the brownie, it's gone. You drink the beer, it's gone. And that's it. And you don't have any problem with it because it was within your budget. It's not going to kill you. Now, when it becomes an addiction, like gambling, and it overwhelms your psyche, now you got a serious problem. So if that's you, you need to figure out a way to do it safely, which is why I recommend only buying crypto when you get it back from a credit card or Venmo as an option, as your cash back bonus reward or whatever. If not, buy some Pi where you can mine it for free on your cell phone.
Yeah, and Pi
that threshold.
Pi is another different crypto project. You can't trade it yet on an exchange. It is strictly a theoretical kind of ecosystem, and it could have extreme benefits when it finally does have its mainnet launch, which just means that it's now available to be traded across different exchanges. But they're set to send it over to the mainnet, a mainnet launch later on this year. And again, you can download the app and begin to mine it from your phone. So that's a pretty cool utility and something worth looking into. Venmo has a way to buy crypto easily as a cashback reward, I believe. Coinbase definitely has a cashback reward of crypto and Ethereum, or I think they choose the projects from time to time. But yeah, early on in my crypto investing, that's exactly who I was. Like, I wasn't able to focus at work. I would just constantly look at Robinhood and figure out if I was gonna sell off all my Dogecoin because it was going through the moon, and I'm making like $1,400 in a day, and I couldn't stop looking at my phone. Like, it was a legit addiction where all I cared about was crypto. And after that, I was hooked. But then I realized I can't live like this. I cannot be glued to my phone for 8 hours trying to figure out if I'm going to buy or sell. I have to have some type of swing trade strategy that allows me to have a life, because the difference between stocks and crypto is that crypto continues to trade 24 hours a day. And usually the other side of the world, like the Asian markets, they're trying to set us up all the time because they're ahead. So things will look good in the Western Hemisphere. Then all of a sudden, while you're sleeping, all of a sudden everybody dumps. And you're like, oh my God. And so it forces you to almost be up 24 hours to catch this. So it's impossible to day trade, and you are going to lose health, life, and sleep trying to day trade crypto.
Well, here's 2 points real quick based on what you just said. If your habit is eating a Snicker bar and you're looking for a way to deter yourself from eating the Snicker bar every day, just buy crypto instead. You're still going to do it, but you're replacing one habit with the other. I would argue the crypto is going to last longer and be more beneficial than the Snicker bar. So that's a better habit, right? Second thing I'll say is, it's 1 o'clock in the Philippines, right? No, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's 1 in the morning. So you're right. These exchanges, it's all day long. You got to get some sleep. So if you don't understand time zones, and you get market swings, it's because the other half of the world is up while you're asleep, and
Yeah,
vice versa.
it's Thursday, March 28th, 1:48 a.m. in the Philippines. Yep.
In the Philippines, right, which is Asia, right, closer to China, India, that whole little hemisphere right there. So that's what's going on. They're trying to go to sleep while we're trying to make money. And then to tie all that together, this is why the SEC won, right? This is why they get to Bing Coinbase or whatever, because we're making a comparison to crypto, trading it like we're trading stocks. That's what we just did. And that's why they won. Psychologically, it just doesn't pass the smell test. So you got to start thinking about it like a piece of fine art. That way you just let it hang there. And then maybe an opportunity will come where you can part ways or put it in a different museum.
Yeah, for most of the retail traders, if it moonbags, take profits, but hang on to it. So if something shoots up, 100%, take profits from it,
Yes.
but hold on
Yes.
to it because it's going to continue to go up over time.
And my point, the whole argument can be completely erased. All you have to do to kill all this bickering back and forth, you just allow financial institutions to create debt instruments against it. If we can borrow against crypto, there's nothing else left to say. There's no more arguments. There's no more lawsuits. It is now a valuable vehicle in any economy all over the world, and it has infinite growth.
Well, speaking of growth, sadly, the cost of real estate in new homes. They continue to grow. And so it has had a detrimental effect, specifically with 72,000 homeowners in California. Hang on just a second here. 1 second. I'm going to pause this. 1 second. All right. We're back here. So in California,
Yep.
so the American dream is now increasingly more expensive. According to Washington Times, the cost of achieving the American dream is pegged at $3.4 million, estimated over a lifetime. That is the cost. So this is a lifestyle complete with marriage, children, home ownership, and education. It's now less accessible than ever before. This is a study coming out of Georgetown University Center on Education and Workforce. So, I mean, getting married is an average cost of $35,800. The average mortgage now, $796,000 according to Zillow. And the expenses of having the out-of-pocket expense for having kids, $5,700, and the cost of raising 2 children pegged at $576,000 adjusted for inflation. And then sending them to college would cost you about $42,000 a year. And then, of course, healthcare is pegged at $934,000 a year. So this is why the American dream costs $3.4 million. And then State Farm in California, 72,000 homeowners in California, they are not going to renew coverage for 72,000 homeowners in California due to the rising costs and the heightened risk of wildfires and certain regulations as reasoning for not renewing 72,000 policies. Rising costs, inflation. $3.4 million to have the American dream. Are you kidding me? Your thoughts, sir?
Okay, what was that number? 3 point what?
4
3.4 million.
to have the American dream.
Okay. What's 3.4 million divided by 30 years?
Oh man, you can't have me do the math live.
Let me help you do the math live then. Okay. 3.4 million divided by 30 years. That's $113,000 a year. Now, I remember a post where I told people that $100,000 a year in retirement, it ain't going to be enough. Did I not have that video?
I mean, that's a nest egg for most people to have $100,000 as a large sum payment. This is not every year, folks.
Right.
This is what you would need to this is a nest egg, a lump sum nest egg that somebody can get when they turn 67. But this is what they're saying. This is what you need perpetually over your lifetime to achieve the American dream.
So the only way to deal with that is from generation to generation. That's the only way you're gonna change the narrative. So you have to have unselfish parents create a legacy either through an insurance policy or gifting of assets to the next generation, so that when they grow up and become parents, they can actually handle this catastrophic nightmare that's headed towards the U.S. economy every single day. That's the only way from generation to generation. Because look what's happening with the insurers. The insurers are saying we can't rip people off anymore and make money. The cost is too high. The risk is too high. And since they're crybabies and they don't want to play anymore, they've been taking people's money for how long? Oh, just because the cost goes up, we're going to come out of California and not take any risk? Well, guess what? Give me your license then. Get out of here.
Yeah, you're going to cut off
an insurance company.
Almost 75,000 homeowners. That's a lot of homeowners, man. That's insane.
That's a crazy crybaby excuse for lack of skill, which I've been saying this entire time. You don't have the skill to manage the risk because you're not visionary. You're not creative. You're acting like it's business as usual. The old regime is done. They need to be taken out, and I can't wait to assume the throne. It's absolutely sickening. Imagine if LeBron James said, you know what? I can't shoot over 50% against the Celtics. So I'm just going to not play when the Celtics come.
Yeah, right. It would be
like, what?
He would be taken out from the media. They would completely just dump on him. It'd be over.
That's what you're hired to do. Like, this insurance debacle is ridiculous. They're just taking people's money like a casino. And the moment that a small hiccup happens, they can't handle the pressure. They got no answer.
Yeah, State Farm, shame on you. And we don't even know if there's other insurance companies involved too. I'm pretty sure this is something that's probably across the industry.
Pretty sure it's business as usual, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, on a lighter note, I think you were right all along. Disney, according to Yahoo Finance, Disney and DeSantis board reached settlement in lawsuit over special tax district. We are pleased to put an end to all litigation pending in state court in Florida between Disney and the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District. Jeff Vail, president of Walt Disney World, said in a statement, this agreement opens a new chapter of constructive engagement with the new leadership of the district and serves the interests of all parties by enabling significant continued investment and the creation of thousands of direct and indirect jobs and economic opportunity in the state. So you predicted that this was a move to get the stock down so people could jump in and then ride the wave back up to glory for Disney. Here it is. No one's talking about it, but Disney and DeSantis have made an agreement to settle. What does this mean for Disney stock? And do you agree with me that you were right?
Nobody listens to me, but maybe they should start because, yes, a classic example of the same trick being played yet again. Now, if you were a buyer when this was going down, you did the right thing. You took the bad news. You realized long term, this is a joke. This will never last a test of time. In fact, both parties probably knew what they were going to do before the court case even started. It was a collaborative effort, right?
Whoa, now that's a claim. Hold on. Explain that.
Yeah.
Break that down.
So you get two interested parties. They both want the same goal. They want to buy something cheaper, something valuable at a better price. So you create a self-imposed smear campaign to cause drama. Make the public think that the company's in shambles and that this is the worst thing that could happen to Disney since the California fires, right? Since Hurricane Andrew in 1991 or 92, right? But both parties are saying, okay, this is what you're going to do. We're going to pay you to sue us.
Wait, what?
Yeah, we're going to pay you
Pay
to
you to
sue us.
sue us?
That's right. That's right.
And the goal is to do what?
The goal is to make sure the stock price goes down so that the owners can come in, snatch more market share, and as that price goes back up, reap the benefits and do what? Borrow more money tax-free against the asset.
So you're saying that companies and parties involved in these companies can set up a self-coup in order to bring down their price so that they can jump in, buy up more shares, and then see their valuations go up?
Oh, yeah. I guarantee you there's 10 hedge funds out there that work together right now that benefit from this. They may have been all part of it. This is what we're going to do. Happens all the time. They work together to pay for a smear campaign to drive the price down. And then look at the top 10 hedge fund managers out on the street right now. They all know each other. Why? Because they're working together.
So this settlement comes as no surprise to you.
Absolutely none.
Wow.
Zero. I would have been cashed in all chips the moment this happened.
Well, I think we got to talk about this, our final block of the day. P. Diddy.
Oh, boy.
P. Diddy, his homes were raided. I usually don't like talking about news, but because he is a business mogul and for many years was somebody that we looked up to in the Black community, was definitely a controversial figure. But in terms of entrepreneurship, I can safely say that people did look up to him as an example. Homes were raided both in Miami, LA, New York. His kids were detained. They're adult children that he has. His private plane, was grounded in the Caribbean. He was not aboard the plane, according to some reports, but he is at large. Like no one knows where he is. What is going on? Shortly before he divested his shares in Revolt, which was a TV network that he was a part of, and he is also divested from any of the major brands that he was previously connected to. He does have an album out, and I don't know if this is some strange way of having the whole world talk about him. It could be orchestrated, but people are saying this is it because there's trafficking involved in this investigation, which is why they raided his house, and it's not looking good, man. It looks like he is the new Epstein, is what people are saying, the Epstein of the rap industry. Your thoughts from a business standpoint?
So, in the United States judicial system, you're guilty until, or you're innocent until proven guilty.
No, it's okay.
So,
you could say it. You're guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah, when you really think about it, most of the time,
you're guilty.
We're guilty until we prove that we didn't do anything, right? So in his case, here's the deal. You just saw a former U.S. president get ripped off, taken to the cleaners, right? Right after being sued for an alleged thing with some woman that he can't even remember, from last week's chocolate bar. 78 million compounded with 450 million, however much it was. And he's a former U.S. president. So these special interest groups they're really working this year. So I get why he liquidated and did whatever he had to do to reallocate assets. My intuition is he took those resources, went to Europe, parked them somewhere where nobody could touch it, and now he's on his way back to the U.S. By the way, Jack Ma did the same thing. Okay, you saw Alibaba almost hit 400 a share. Now it's down to 76. Why? He was attacked by a special interest group in China for his ability to swoon investors abroad into Alibaba. So if that was his tactic to preserve his financial assets, I get it, whether he did it or not. The bottom line is, if you traffic it, if that's what you did, it's going to come to the light, and you deserve the impending doom. But it doesn't take away from, accomplishments that were generated through with integrity, right? I mean, you can look at the R. Kelly incidents. Great songs, beautiful music. But his personal life, he did some bad things. And that's why he went to jail. So if that's what Diddy did, great business accomplishments. But if you trafficked kids, if that's what you did, you got to pay for it. And that's what's coming to light. Now, if you didn't do it, you just got to ride it out.
Yeah, this isn't a new tactic, folks. This blackmailing through these illicit situations. I mean, this is something very common in the billionaire circles. People set up family members. People record their own people in their lineage so that they can take over inheritance. It's vicious. This happens all the time, where people blackmail and get leverage on certain folks, especially in the big business industry or within these big estates. So it is a common practice. It's more common than you think, especially with entertainment. And sadly, entertainment has been used as a way to launder money and a way to do shady deals. Usually, music is what's out front and center as the distraction and the smokescreen to get some things done behind the scenes that are more sinister. And the flashier and bigger you are, the better of an asset you become. But that makes a lot of sense. Wow, I didn't even think about that, about him taking those funds and planting them elsewhere so that he would be situated and then come back here and handle all the smoke.
That's right.
So if there's another, have you come across anybody who's needed your advice on how to handle a situation where they felt they were under attack, or they were in fear that they were going to lose their estate and their wealth?
Absolutely. The divorce rate in the United States of America is 53%, but the divorce rate globally is more like 60. So, unfortunately, when you're talking about a division of assets in a U.S. court, there are people out there that purely get married for the sake of financial gain. Pure.
That is the fastest way
no
to
shame.
get wealthy, is through marrying somebody, right?
Right.
Correct.
And look at P. Diddy's situation. Like, well, let's look at the allegations. If it was in fact the fastest way for financial gain, and an offer was made, that sounds pretty close to prostitution, unless it was consensual, right, or whatever. But these games are played all day long. So I've met a lot of people who were genuinely thought they were in genuine relationships, and when they ended, things got really nasty really quick. Or they were getting ready to get to that point, and now they're concerned that, hey, I own 10 businesses in California or New York, Texas. Things have gotten out of control. If I get a divorce, what does the other person legally have the right to take or sell? right? And this happens all the time. There are some people who, rather than lose their partner, they would rather go bankrupt or blackmail somebody, do something illicit just to make sure the other spouse is happy, male and female. So you have to be careful.
There was when there's an age gap between these couples, what's the percentage or likelihood that they'll probably get a divorce and the younger person involved was just in it for money, in your experience?
In my experience, males usually marry younger women, maybe 10 to 20 years younger than themselves. And within 5 to 6 years, they're divorced and splitting assets, including retirement accounts. And I would say 50% of the time, aligning up with those statistics, that's what happens with the relationship without some type of intervention or a catastrophic event.
Right, because these high-performing individuals who are older, they're busy performing. They're out making money, and then the person that they're with that's 10, 15, 20 years younger, they're left at home. They're lonely. And they probably had some, like you said, it happens where all of a sudden now they can't take it. They get a divorce, but who knows who's been, sleeping around with them or hanging out with them during that whole time while their husband was out working. They're building a new relationship with somebody that they're actually fond of. But now, all it's going to take is 5, 6 years later for them to be financially secure, and then they can go enjoy the life they want, right?
Right.
See, this is the dark side of being successful financially that nobody likes to talk about, is the amount of distrust and the lack of people, like the lack of security that you'll have within your relationships, where you just feel like you can't trust anybody.
Well, that's another reason why people privately hire me to help them manage their wealth, because we have an agreement that regardless of circumstance, even in the fact where you're telling me you no longer work with me, that you hate me, that you absolutely do not want to see my face, hear my advice, take any type of instruction whatsoever, before that even has the even remote chance of happening, you've signed an agreement that says we're preserving a certain amount of capital, and regardless of our relationship, this will happen legally in law to protect yourself from your own emotions, including mine.
Sounds great. Monty, how can somebody contact you, reach out to you, get a hold of you for those type of services and the other services that you alluded to earlier in the podcast? What's the best way?
The very best way to get a hold of me is to go to my website, sicomaha.com. There's a place that says contact, and I will call you back. You're going to hear from me. That is the fastest way. Otherwise, leave your contact information in the podcast like this, and
in the comments. So people can leave their try to get a hold of you via the comments across social media channels, at the Miles Pod on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. You can find the comment section there. Good news. Disney is coming back to Florida. Yeah.
Hey, we all thought they were going to leave Florida, right?
Yeah.
We all thought they were shut down. There's no way they're going to survive this, man. But guess what happens? Algorithms trade on news that they scan the internet for. This was negative news. So what happened? They start selling before everybody else can sell to preserve their capital. But that was a deliberate move. so the real players can start buying up more assets and take over.
Fantastic. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Thank you again, Monty Shockley, the founder and CEO of SIC Omaha, Shockley Intellectual Capital. You can reach Monty at sicomaha.com. Feel free to leave your comments, contact information across our social media channels. Monty Shockley, thank you so much again for joining us. And folks, I'm so sorry we ran out of time. Matt Damon, we apologize that we were not able to get to you. Peace.